Hello and welcome to the C++ Insights YouTube channel. I'm Andreas Fertig. I work as a C++ trainer offering classes worldwide, on-site or remote. This is my YouTube channel where I use my tool C++ Insights to teach you various topics related to C++. Welcome back to the channel. Today I like to share the latest change to C++ Insights regarding lambdas. And this is something I was very hesitant to do. Since I already deployed a change, you can only look up the previous transformations in older C++ Insights episodes, or maybe you've seen them and memorized them. What I have here is a lambda, right? It captures an integer and returns the parameter value plus the integer value. All the entire main function here calls lambda and returns the result. So nothing fancy going on here. Of course, this is the C++ code that we write, so I don't change that one. Here is now the resulting transformation. As previously, I visualize the lambda using a class and making up the name here. For those who care and haven't heard it, this is the line number and this is the column number. So this is a way to, a few circumstances aside, create a very, unique name here. That was the case all the time. So this is also not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that in previous versions, my lambdas here showed a constructor call. In all my training classes, I mentioned that this is wrong. The standard does require explicitly that there is no constructor call. So all captured fields are direct initialized. I couldn't visualize that, and I still can. I'm playing a special trick here. And the special trick is I got rid of the constructor. That dropped a bunch of code that I had to maintain before and made a lot of more code correct, because when things start to need to be moved, things get more complicated. So the trick I now deployed is to say, I give you a comment here that hints that all the fields that are following, so all the captures, they are private, but not really here, because it's just a comment that says private. I hesitated with that change, and what actually convinced me was, 2 years ago at CPPCon, I had a chat with Jason Turner, another one, so we had that topic a couple of times, that it's wrong showing the constructor there and other things. And so this made me wonder again how compilers do that, and I took a second approach looking into that, or no, it's not a second one, it's way more than that. But anyways, so I looked up how GCC implements lambdas. The way they do it is they start lambdas as a struct. All data members are directly public. Once everything is finished and in place, they flip the switch and make it a class. And by that, the data members become private. So this is something the standard also requires. The data members shall not be accessible by users. However, compilers would implement that as their freedom. But this is now my choice. It makes the lambda visualization shorter and more correct, because all the constructor calls and everything I had to add was purely made up and basically wrong from the start. So the only thing that's left now that you have to remember and take care of, that the data members are still private in reality, so you cannot access them. This gives me the best approximation to what a compiler does, I think, and so this is why I finally made the switch. I implemented that at CPPCon 2 years ago and carried it on since then, modified it, tested it out. So if you have any feedback, please let me know. Maybe you still run the old version and find that one better. Then I'm really interested in knowing why and what use cases for you find it better. As I said, the change dropped a amount of, I think, 500 lines of code, and made also the resulting output way shorter and more correct in the sense of the constructors. And when it came to move, it was simply even more wrong, because even with a stood move, all the data members that are unmovable, they get copied. So my visualization basically showed you way worse code than the compiler is actually able to create. It's brilliant what a compiler does here, in my opinion. All right, so I'm looking for your feedback. I hope you enjoy the new visualization, but in any case, let me know. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.